My husband first approached me about the possibility of getting my concealed carry permit when I was 20 years old. I couldn't even legally carry yet. And until that point, I didn't even know really that civilians could carry. I was born and raised in a state that did not have any kind of concealed carry laws. And so it was kind of, the whole process was kind of new to me. So when he kind of approached me about it, I was rather surprised that civilians could even do that. Um, but I considered it carefully, and I gave him my answer, which was I would get my concealed carry permit under 4 conditions. The first condition was that I would be able to pick up my own gun. 2, that I would get training that was not from him, completely separate from him, and professional training. 3, that I would practice often. And 4, that I would get continuing training in things not even related to firearms, unarmed defense, all that kind of stuff. The reasons I had these criteria, these demands, was because I knew, growing up with firearms and have been around firearms and shooting since I was a kid, that 1, having a gun does not mean that you know how to use it. Just picking up a gun does not make you John Wayne or Clint Eastwood or any of those other good gun people. Anyway, and the second reason was because a gun in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to use it can be worse than having no gun at all. And I didn't want to be one of those people. I didn't want to be one of those people who carries a gun to feel safe, and when the time came, God forbid, that I needed it, I didn't know what I was doing and ended up either hurting myself or someone I didn't mean to hurt. So went out and started my whole training process, and neither my husband nor I really expected what was going to happen. It really kind of took to me, and within a year I was a concealed carrier. Within the next year after that, I was working full-time at a gun store and range where I was shooting daily and getting a lot of training, which was fabulous. And within the next year after that, I was a handgun instructor myself. And the years after that, I continued to work in gun stores, continued to get training. And some of my instructors include, I actually wrote a little list, just trying to remember all the instructors that I've had. Bullseye Champion, who also was an Army pistol team shooter and instructor, and then finally retired as a police academy instructor. An IDPA coach who was also in his prior life a handgun instructor for Navy SEALs. He was an officer in the Navy. And I've had 4 different NRA certified instructors and 1 NRA coach as my as part of my instructors. 2 combat veterans, including a Marine and a Ranger who owns his own handgun instruction kind of course thing that he goes around the country training in different locations, everything from unarmed defense to handguns to intermediate handguns to advanced. Some of the training that I've had is in just regular hand-to-hand combat, firearms retention for people who are trying to steal your gun, disarming armed attackers, and knives. The reason I'm kind of going through this and giving you my resume, sort of, is because it was brought to my attention that someone did a video and they mentioned me in the video, and it basically, this is bad, you shouldn't do this. It was my carrying a gun in a baby video, and the whole reason they said that it was bad was because if a criminal wanted to get a gun, they could get a gun more easily off of me than they could a police officer. And someone actually did a video on that video, and it was a concealed carrier who did the video. as kind of a rebuttal, and said that he was wrong on all other points. This original video person was wrong on all other points, except for the fact that he agreed with him that a mother shouldn't be carrying a gun and a baby. So, okay, I can carry a gun. I can carry a gun to defend myself. My husband can carry a gun. He can carry a gun to defend himself and his family. But I can't carry a gun to defend myself and my child at the same time. Not quite sure I agree with that one. Like I said, the one point that was brought up was that, the main point that was brought up was that it would be more easy to take a gun from me than it would from a police officer. I can say without any pride or boasting that I have more training than a vast majority of police officers and even military personnel out there. Yes, there are your specialized groups like your SWAT, your, special operations capable military, that yes, they have more training than me. But your average police officer and your average military personnel, I have years more training than they do. And I can confidently say that it would not be more easy to get a firearm from me than it would from a police officer. There was another point that was brought up, that I carry to feel safe or because I'm afraid. Let me say that if I or anyone is carrying to feel safe, you are carrying for the wrong reasons. Feelings are emotional responses to immediate situations. Just because you feel something does not make it true. You can feel safe in your own home, but there could be a gas leak and your house could blow up in 10 minutes. You could feel safe in your nice top-rated Suburban as you're driving down the road, but you could have a mechanical failure and you end up in a car accident and dead. Just because you feel something does not necessarily make it true. Carrying to feel safe is probably the most wrong thing that you could ever do. I carry to be prepared, and I have trained with that firearm to be prepared. I don't feel anything when I put on my gun in the morning and go about my day. It's not about feelings. There's almost no feelings involved at all. It's kind of, I would equate it to, how do you feel when you put on your shoes? I mean, there's nothing there. It's a tool. It's like, how do you feel when you pick up your spatula to flip your eggs in the morning? There's no feeling there because there's not emotion in doing something like flipping your eggs or getting dressed in the morning or getting into your car and driving down the road. Those are tools, and a firearm, to me, is a tool. It's a tool that I have trained with to use in the event of an emergency. So now you have kind of a brief overview of where I've been in the past, where I am now, my goals for the future as far as continuing to train, continuing to be on top of things, continuing to be prepared in the event of an emergency. And I can't convince anyone whose mind is made up about me or about concealed carry or about whether or not it's good or bad or whatever. Your opinion is your opinion, and thank God we live in America where you can still have an opinion. But for those of you who are on the fence and listening to the debate going back and forth, you know why I made the decisions I made in the past as far as getting the training I needed, continuing to train, continuing to go forward and do training not related to firearms in the event that my firearm is not an option. So I hope that kind of shows you where I am as far as mindset, and I hope it kind of keeps people in the right perspective as far as a woman, and not only a woman, a mother who has decided to take her rights seriously and the protection of herself and her child.